resources in his or her life. The first resource is money, and the second resource is time. And out of both these resources, one resource is renewable. You can earn more money. But there's one resource which is not renewable, and that is our time. All of you have decided to give me some of your time. So you're giving me a most valuable resource of your life, a non-renewable resource. I'm very, very thankful for that. Really grateful that all of you are present here today. My thanks once again to His Grace Amog Leela Prabhu. And I have said often to many of my friends, when my friends come and show me that, see, here is Amog Leela Prabhu, he's preaching so nicely. And they show me his videos from time to time. So I feel very happy in saying that, yes, I am one of the contacts in Amog Leela Prabhu's phone. so that is my good fortune, that I like to say that, I have Amog Leela Prabhu's contact in my phone, and I am one of the contacts in Amog Leela Prabhu's phone. So I'm very, very thankful, Prabhu, that you kindly organized this seminar. And thank you so much for all the wonderful prachar that you're doing. Really, really, you have that ability which many of us don't have. So thank you so much for doing such nice prachar, Prabhu. Jai Dwarka, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for kindly coordinating. And you became impersonalist yesterday, and you did a very nice job, Prabhuji. But thank you so much for being such a nice student of Gaudiya Vaishnav Shastra, Gaudiya Vaishnav Darshan. I'm really thankful to have such a friend in my life as you. And Shant Gopinath Prabhu, other devotees who have organized this, thank you so much. All the devotees who are present here, welcome. I'd like to share my screen because today we are continuing with our presentation. Today is the second part of our presentation. Our presentation is titled Śrī-Vigraha and its service. And in this presentation, we've already seen the first part, where the conception of Vigraha, the conception of Murti, the conception of Śrī-Vigraha, and what are the most common objections that have been put by various individuals against deity and deity worship. They were discussed in the previous talk. Now today we are continuing, and we will begin with a quote from His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada is saying something in a letter. Srila Prabhupada Uvacha. He says, I am pleased also that you are decorating your temple nicely. And the more you decorate the temple beautifully, the more your heart will be beautiful. The example is that the more you decorate the original, the more the reflection automatically is decorated. So our heart is the reflection of the original consciousness, Krishna. And the more Krishna and his paraphernalia are decorated, the more this will be reflected in our heart, and we will feel transcendental bliss. So this is a letter written on 27th of October 1969. Srila Prabhupada is asking all of us to understand one thing, that the temple is a reflection of our hearts. So the cleaner the temple is, the more decorated the temple is, the cleaner our hearts will be, the more decorated our hearts will be. So he is reminding us of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime of Gundicha Marjan, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thoroughly cleansed the temple, not only once but multiple times. The reason being that the temple is a reflection of our hearts, and the cleaner we keep the temple, the cleaner our hearts will be. So we should remember this instruction by Srila Prabhupada. And the temple, especially temples in our home, those who are grihasthas, they should keep it spick and span so that Krishna will be very happy. Our minds will be automatically cleansed. And not only the immediate temple area, but in general, we should keep our home very clean because the entire home is dedicated to Bhagavan. So we should keep our home very clean. We should keep our temple very clean. In this way, we ourselves will be cleansed of impurities and Bhagavan will be pleased. Now, moving ahead. Yesterday, there was a question asked about other devatas and what about the murtis of other devatas. So I had explained yesterday that other devatas are to be seen as limbs of Bhagavan Shri Hari. And just as the limbs of a person also belong to that same person, if we respect a person, we respect him with all of his or her limbs. It's not that, I really respect you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, but I don't like your hands. I respect you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, I don't like your legs. So if I say like this to you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, what will you feel?
That means you don't respect me actually.
So that is the, if I just say that I respect only you, but I don't respect your limbs, then it means I don't really respect you. So the other Devi Devatas are seen as the Angas or the limbs of Bhagavan, and therefore we should offer respects to other Devatas. Shri Jiva Goswami quotes a verse in the Bhakti Sandarbha, and this verse is in front of us. Harir eva sadaradhyah sarvadeveshwareshwarah itare brahma rudradya navagyeya kadachana. Harir eva sada aradhyah. Hari is to be always worshipped. We know that. Why? Because he is Sarva Deva Ishwareshwara. He is the Supreme Lord of all Lords. So he is to be worshipped always. Our primary worship is towards Hari. We know this. But itare, other devatas, such as Brahma, Rudra, Adya, such as Brahma, Rudra, etc., na avagyayah kadachana, should never be disrespected. So this is from Padma Puran, and this verse has been quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha. Because many times, as devotees, when we are new in our bhajan, we are told that other gods, other devatas are below Shri Hari because they are subordinate to Shri Hari. Now, our thought process immediately is, why should I care for a subordinate? My business is directly with the boss, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So subordinates are okay. One day I'm going to cross the material world and all these subordinates will be offering their praises and glories to me when I am going back home, back to Godhead. So in this way, a devotee feels, hey, what of these other devatas? I don't need to respect. So it should be understood that respecting other devatas is very important. No matter where a devata is situated, in whichever planet the devata, he or she is situated, we should respect that devata. In fact, Srila Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 64 limbs of bhakti defined. So limb number 17 of 64 is Anya Deva Anavagya, that not disrespecting other devatas. So limb number 11 to 20 are all negative limbs, not doing this, not doing this, not doing this. So from 11 to 20, we have negative limbs. So limb number 17 is Anya Deva Anavagya. So not disrespecting other devatas. So simply by not disrespecting other devatas, we are carrying out devotional service. So if we simply not do this one activity, then it will be very helpful in our devotional service. So devotees should kindly remember this. that just because other devatas are subordinate to Hari, they should never ever be disrespected at any point of time. We do not have the authority, nor do we have the eligibility to disrespect the other devatas who are carrying out our bodily functions. For example, there is a devata known as Mitra, who is described in the Vedas. This devata, Mitra, carries out the function of throwing out waste from the human body. So similarly, there is Varun Devata. Varun Devata manages all the waters in the body. Agni Devata manages the fire of digestion in the body. Suppose today I speak something against Agni Devata, and tomorrow Agni Devata decides, all right, your fire of digestion is under my control. I will ensure that you have low fire of digestion. Then what will happen is, even though I'm carrying out my devotional service, because I have disrespected a devata, I may have to face some aparadh. All these devatas are present within our body also, and they are carrying out various functions in our body. So they are directly in control of our body. So please understand that disrespecting them is not at all recommended. Sri Jiva Goswami quotes another verse to enforce the point. Sometimes with one verse, the point is not enforced. So in Shastra, there is something known as Sthuna Nikhanana Nyaya. So Sthuna Nikhanana means if you want to, put a pillar in a ground, so you don't have to just hammer it once. Once you have put the pillar in the ground, you have to hammer it many times so that it becomes fixed in the ground. So similarly, if you want to strengthen the understanding of a point, sometimes more than one pramanas are given. Sri Jiva Goswami gives another praman, and he says, Gopalam pujayedyastu nindayedanya devatam astu tavat paro dharma purva dharmopi nashyati. Gopalam pujayed yastu, he who worships Gopal, nindayed anya devatam, but criticizes other devatas. Astu tavat paro dharma purva dharmopi nashyati. In Hindi we say उसका आगे का धर्म छोड़ दो, पिछला भी नष्ट हो जाएगा. Or in English we will say that leave his, forget about his future piety, his past piety will also be lost. So this is from the Gautamiya Tantra, 33rd chapter, and it is quoted in Bhakti Sandarbha, that if a person worships Lord Gopal while disrespecting other devatas, forget about his future piety, his past piety is also lost completely. So devotees should remember that by disrespecting devatas, we are losing our own piety, and we want all that sukriti for advancement in our bhajan. Actually, there are many other devatas which are there in the Vedic canon of literature. So many devatas are there that are mentioned directly in the Vedas. Out of these devatas, there are few devatas which are worshipped most commonly in Aryavarta. Aryavarta means in our Bharatvarsha, also outside India, wherever followers of Vedic culture are staying. Which are the devatas that are worshipped most frequently? So one devata is Shri Ganesh. So Shri Ganesh, he performs the function of Vishwaksena in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, Vishwaksena is the one who performs the function of Shri Ganesh. So Shri Ganesh is in the material world. He is known as Vignaharta. He removes all the obstacles of all individuals in their respective paths. So many people worship Ganesh because they want their life to be obstacle free. And many people worship Bhagwan Shiva. Bhagwan Shiva is not a demigod or a devata, simple devata. Indra is devata, Chandra is devata, Vayu is devata. But Shiva is directly Guna avatar of Bhagwan Shri Hari. So his category is definitely much above all other devatas. So we should be very careful that Shiva is not merely a devata. Shiva is actually described by the Vaishnava Acharyas as a guna avatar of Sri Vishnu. And therefore, many times Vaishnava Acharyas have said that in many ways he is non-different from Sri Vishnu. One of the offenses in chanting Harinam is Shivasya Shri Vishnorya iha gunanamadi sakalam dhiya bhinnam pashyet sa khalu Harinama hitakara. That one who sees Shiva is completely different from Vishnu, completely separate God from Vishnu, that person is also an aparadhi. And one who sees Shiva and Vishnu as completely one, that person is also an aparadhi. So both these types of people are aparadhi. The actual understanding is Shiva and Vishnu are different yet non-different, because Shiva is a guna avatar of Vishnu. Then there is Surya. Now this sampradaya is not so popular in India nowadays. Previously, there were many people who used to worship Surya. I have a very rare text called as Surya Shatakam, 100 prayers to Bhagwan Surya. And previously, people used to worship Surya Dev. Srimati Radharani herself is an ardent worshipper of Bhagwan Surya. But her worship of Surya is mainly for attaining Krishna. So Surya Dev is another deity who is worshipped, and Shakti, that is Durga, is another worshipable deity in the Vedic canon. Sri Jiva Goswami says, note all these deities carefully, dear devotees. These are the most prominent. Why am I listing these deities? Because Srila Jiva Goswami is going to make a point by quoting a verse. What verse does Srila Jiva Goswami quote in Bhakti Sandarbha? He says, Shaiva Saurascha Ganesha Vaishnava Shakti Pujaka Mamev Prapnuvantiha Varshambha Sagaram Yatha. Shaivaha, those who are worshipping Bhagavan Shiva. Sauraha, those who are worshipping Surya or sun god. Ganesha, those who are worshipping Shri Ganesh. Vaishnavaha, the Vaishnavas too, and Shakti Pujaka, and those who are worshipping Shakti, that is Durga and other forms of Durga. Mameva Prapnuvanti, ultimately they are going to attain me. Please remember, this is Bhagwan's statement, Krishna's statement. Ultimately they are going to attain me. And he gives an analogy. Varsha Ambha Sagaram Yatha. Just as rainwater from different sources ultimately ends up in the ocean. So all these various other worshippers of other devatas are ultimately worshipping me. Therefore, these worshippers should also not be disrespected. We should try to tell them that worshipping Vishnu is the direct and best way mentioned in Shastra. But if they are not convinced about it, then we should not disrespect them. We should let them continue on their journey, because they are also ultimately going to come to the point where they worship Vishnu. In the translation is as follows. Worshippers of other devatas such as Shiva, Surya, Ganesh and Shakti finally attain me, just as rainwater from various sources finally ends up in the ocean. So in this way, Srila Jiva Goswami is impressing the point upon us that if worshippers of other devatas are not really willing to take to Vaishnavism, still we should respect them, and definitely we should respect their deities. These are all Vedic deities. All of these are Vedic deities mentioned directly in the Vedas. Shri Ganesh is mentioned in Ganesh Atharva Shirsha. Rudra is mentioned directly in the Vedas. Surya and Shakti, these are all deities mentioned directly in the Vedas. So these are Vedic deities and these are limbs of Bhagavan. We should never disrespect them, neither should we disrespect their followers. Now, Sri Jiva Goswami says, but for ourselves, we should worship only Vishnu. Sri Jiva Goswami again quotes few verses in the Bhakti Sandarbha. He says, Tasmad avaidikanam cha devanam archanam tyajet swatantra pujanam yatra vaidikanam api tyajet. So he says, Tasmad avaidikanam devanam archanam tyajet. One should give up worship of those gods who are not mentioned in the Vedas. So many times many of us come from families where the family deity, the worshipable family deity is non-Vedic. I will give one example. For example, in India, there are many devis or many devatas whose name has just been invented, and their names are not mentioned in the Vedas. And then some of us come from families who are worshipping non-bona fide people, who claim to be Bhagwan. For example, in India, about 150 years ago, in Maharashtra, there was a person who basically came from an Islamic family, a Muslim family, and he claimed to be the incarnation of Ram. He claimed to be the incarnation of Krishna, and he quickly gained many followers in Maharashtra. After 60-70 years, somebody made a movie on that person. The Bollywood industry made a movie, and this person, he was a fakir, he is an Islamic peer, he became famous throughout India. And then people everywhere in India started worshipping this person. So these are non-Vedic, absolutely non-Vedic. We should give up worship of non-Vedic deities without keeping any hesitation in mind. And Swatantra Pujanam Yatra Vaidikanam Apityajet. And if any Vedic deity is also there, but Swatantra Pujanam, they are being worshipped independently as the Supreme Lord, one should give up that sort of worship too. Both sorts of worship should be given up. So worship of non-Vedic deities should definitely be completely given up. And wherever a Vedic deity is also there, Shiva, Surya, but those Vedic deities are being worshipped as the supreme personality of Godhead, that should also be given up by devotees. Archayitva jagat vandyam devam narayanam harim tad avarana samsthanam devasya paritorchayit. Now, if a devotee is worshipping Hari as the supreme, then one can worship the devatas as limbs who are surrounding the Supreme Lord Hari. This is called as Avarana Puja. Avarana Puja means the main worshipable deity is Hari, and all the devatas are situated around Hari as limbs of Hari in various directions. So if devatas are worshipped as limbs of Hari, then definitely there is absolutely no problem. A Vaishnav can offer worship to all the devatas, all the Vedic devatas, when he or she considers them as limbs of Bhagwan Shri Hari. I will give a very simple example, and Jai Dwarka Prabhu, I would like for you to read something that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam mentions the history of Maharaj Bharat. Maharaj Bharat used to perform various sacrifices, yagyas, because he was the king of Bharatvarsha. And while performing these sacrifices, he had to worship various devatas. Because he is the king, he has to perform various Vedic sacrifices, he has to worship various devatas. Now, how did Bharat Maharaj worship various devatas? This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 6. It begins with Sam Pracharatsu Nana Yageshu. So, Prabhu, you can kindly read the translation that Srila Prabhupada has given. Please read, Prabhu.
Yes, Puji. After performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev.
All right. Just so when he performed the preliminary parts of the sacrifice, he offered, in the very beginning, he offered the entire yagya, the entire sacrifice to Lord Vasudeva. So in his mind, Bharat Maharaj was very clear that I want to offer everything to Bhagwan Vasudeva. Okay, let's move ahead, Prabhu. Kindly read further.
In other words, he performed all the yajnas for the satisfaction of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Maharaj Bharat thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vasudeva's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was freed from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed.
Yes. So where Maharaj Bharat was thinking, we can see here that since the various devatas were different parts of Vasudev's body, Vasudev controls all the devatas who are explained in the Vedic mantras. Simply by thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was freed from all material contamination. So simply by thinking like this, we become free from material contamination. See, Prabhu, what happens ahead. So, Prabhu, please read.
When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Maharaj Bharat expertly understood how the offering made to different demigods was simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For instance, Indra is the arm of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Surya, the sun, is his eye. Thus, Maharaj Bharat considered that the oblations offered to different demigods were actually offered unto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva.
Yes, so now we have Praman also from history that a certain personality who is so worshipable in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bharat Maharaj, also had the same understanding that Shri Jiva Goswami is trying to give us. So it's not a Sampradayic Vaishnava understanding, it's the understanding of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that just as Maharaj Bharat, when the priests were about to offer offerings into the sacrifice, Indraya Swaha, Varunaya Swaha, Agnaye Swaha, Vayave Swaha. So they offered all these Swahas. Maharaj Bharat was not independently worshipping all of them. Maharaj Bharat considered that these are all being offered to the different limbs of Bhagavan Vishnu. So Maharaj Bharat also worshipped all the devatas. Maharaj Bharat also offered various sacrifices to the devatas. But Maharaj Bharat's vision was completely different. We should remember this verse 5.7.6. Shri Jiva Goswami then says, Harer bhuktva avasheshena balim tebhyo vinikshipet. So Harer bhuktva, once Hari eats, first we should offer all the offerings to Hari, and avasheshena, whatever remnants come, so balim tebhyo vinikshipe. So the remnants of Bhagavan Hari can be and definitely should be offered to all the other Vedic devatas. So this is how we worship. For example, there is Shraddha and Tarpan. Shraddha is offering oblations to forefathers, offering oblations to those who have departed. So during the Shraddha ceremony, we first offer Bhoga to Bhagwan Vishnu, and the remnants of Vishnu are given to the forefathers. In this way, we should worship Hari as the central personality, and all other Vedic devatas, only the Vedic devatas should be worshipped. Non-Vedic devatas, there are many in India, and there are many outside India. And every day, somebody is claiming to be Supreme Lord. So if we start worshipping anybody like this, then it will not work. We should worship only the Vedic deities, and in that also we should worship them as limbs of Bhagavan Hari. So this Siddhanta should be clear. At the same time, yesterday I said, the impersonalist only thinks of Bhagavan as all pervasive. Let's say we decide, yes, we have made up our minds that we will worship Bhagavan Vishnu as the deity who is present in the temple. Because the impersonalist, he only thinks of Vishnu as Sarva Vyapi, all pervasive. He doesn't see Vishnu in one place, he sees Vishnu everywhere. So that is the conception of the impersonalist. But we should understand that Bhagavan is not also restricted only to the deity. Sometimes devotees, they become so fixed on worshipping only the deity that they forget that Bhagwan is not only the deity, Bhagwan is also everywhere in the universe. So a devotee should have both conceptions. Not only that Bhagwan is only in the deity, Bhagwan is only the deity, but also that Bhagwan is present everywhere else, especially within the hearts of all living entities. So in the third canto, Bhagwan says something. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatmavasthitah sada tam avagyaya mam martyah kurtercha vidambanam. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatmavasthitah sada. I am present in every living entity as the super soul. Tam avagyaya. If somebody neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere, and mam martyah kurute archa vidambanam, and engages himself in worship of deity in the temple, then that worship is simply imitation, show bottle worship, and Bhagwan says, I don't appreciate such worship. So anybody, a Vaishnav who is performing deity worship, should never forget the fact that Bhagwan is also all pervasive, and Bhagwan is also sitting as the Paramatma within the hearts of all the entities. Therefore, one who simply performs deity worship but doesn't behave nicely towards others, that person's worship is never accepted by Bhagavan. Especially those of us who are performing the seva of being pujaris, we should understand that various people come to Bhagavan to ask for various desires that they have. The pujari who is sitting on the temple altar, he should understand that nobody should be disrespected. In many temples in India, we see that the pujaris are in great haste to push people forward. Just they consider people who are visiting the temple as a burden. And there are many temples where you see people are not even able to get a glimpse of the deity for a few seconds. And quickly they are pushed forward. There is no proper arrangement for getting darshan of the deity. So the pujari is basically disrespecting other people, even though he is basically worshipping the Supreme Lord as the deity, but he is disrespecting other people. Bhagavan says, I don't like this. If you are really a deity worshipper, you should see the deity within the hearts of each and every living entity too. If you disrespect that deity, which is within the heart of each and every living entity, and you are worshipping Archa Vigraha, your worship is show bottle. And this is pointed out by Sri Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha, that don't forget your focus on the all-pervasive aspect. A Vaishnava is not simply supposed to understand the deity, the limited aspect, but he is also supposed to understand the all-pervasive aspect of Bhagavan. So when we walk outside, when we look everywhere, we see Bhagavan's presence in everyone's heart. And therefore, our walking, our talking is also worship of that Bhagavan in their heart. Each and every activity of ours is thus a worship of Bhagavan, because we respect Bhagavan who is present in the hearts of each and every living entity. So this instruction, all devotees should remember, that just because we got Brahmin initiation, we got adhikar for performing deity worship, doesn't mean that we start disrespecting other entities. Now, a doubt arises, and Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you might have heard many times that deity worship is only for the neophytes. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So, how does this doubt arise, and from which source does this doubt arise? Sri Jiva Goswami points out the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam where Kapil Muni says, this verse can be misunderstood very easily. Therefore, Sri Jiva Goswami takes up this verse and quotes the verse in the Bhakti Sandarbha. This verse is as follows. Archada varchayet tavad Ishwaram mam swakarma krit yavanna veda swahridi sarvabhuteshvavasthitam. So, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, can you please read the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. As long as a person does not realize in his heart that I, the Supreme Lord, am present in all beings, he should perform all his prescribed duties and worship my deity.
Wow. So, he should worship my deity only as long as he does not realize that I am present everywhere in the hearts of all the living entities, which basically means once he realizes that I am present in the hearts of all the living entities, then he no longer has any need to perform deity worship. By reading this verse spoken by Kapil Muni, many people think that those who are kanishthas, that those who are performing or those who are seeing Bhagwan only in the deity, and they are kanishthas, and therefore deity worship is for the kanishtha. Once a person becomes more mature, that person can give up deity worship. So Sri Jiva Goswami says, please don't misunderstand the verse like this. Please note the condition given there. Swa karma krit. A person who is doing his prescribed duties, which means a person does not have bhakti adhikar till now. He just has karma adhikar in varnashram. So he is not yet initiated into Vaishnavism. He has his karma adhikar in varnashram. He may be a brahmana, and just because he is a brahmana, he is not become a Vaishnava. So just because he is a brahmana, he is worshipping the deity and he is performing his swadharma. So for those non-devotees, this verse is there. But for the devotees, Sri Jiva Goswami very clearly says, till a person doesn't have adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, he should perform his prescribed duties and worship the deity. But once he develops adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti, when does he develop that? At the time of Diksha, Vaishnav Diksha. He can give up his duties, but he should never give up the worship of the deity. So he should never ever give up the worship of the deity. That verse was spoken for those who are non-devotees. Those who are devotees, Archanam is one of the 9 limbs of bhakti, and none of the limbs of bhakti should ever be given up. So that verse was for those who are not initiated. But the initiated, there is a verse which Sri Jiva Goswami quotes from the Hayashirsha Pancharatra. And this verse is for all of us who are initiated or planning to get initiated. Pratishthitarcha natyajya yavajjivam samarchayet varam prana parityagah shiraso vapi kartanam. Pratishthitarcha natyajya. One should never give up worship of an established deity. Never should be given up. Yavajjivam samarchayet. One should worship the deity throughout one's life. Varam prana parityagah. Better than giving up a deity is to give up one's life. Shiraso vapi kartanam, or to cut off one's head. In Hindi we say sar kata lena अच्छा है. But भगवान की सेवा त्यागना अच्छा नहीं है. So better than giving up a deity is to give up one's life or to cut off one's head. Sri Jiva Goswami tells us that we should follow this instruction, that we should never give up deity worship. And that conception that once you start seeing the Lord everywhere, then you no longer have any need for deity worship. That is mainly for those who are not Vaishnavas. For Vaishnavas, this understanding should be firmly and thoroughly cultivated within the hearts. So in this way, Sri Jiva Goswami tells us that deity worship is an eternal act. And while we are performing deity worship, one should always remember that just because you are a devotee doesn't mean that you will be unkind to other living entities. A devotee is kind to all living entities. A devotee does not misbehave with any living entity. Just because we are Brahmin initiated, got higher adhikar for worshipping the deity, doesn't mean that we will disrespect any living entity. Sri Jiva Goswami says and quotes a verse, a very nice verse. Atmanascha parasyapi yah karotyantarodaram tasya bhinna drisho mrityur vidadhe bhayamulbanam. Atmanascha parasyapi yah karoti antarodaram. For a person who has a differential outlook, bhed buddhi, who says I am different, this person is different, I am superior, this person is inferior. And yaha karoti antarodaram. Jiva Goswami gives a beautiful interpretation. Antara udaram. Udar means stomach, belly. And he differentiates between his belly and somebody else's belly. And the devotee thinks I will eat nicely and let these other people starve. So when the devotee sees beggars, when the devotee sees poor people on the street, when the devotee sees needy people, and the devotee, because of a differential outlook, he thinks, Arey, only Vishnu should be worshipped. And these people, tasmin tushte jagat tushtam, automatically by satisfying Vishnu, these will be satisfied. So I don't need to, separately give them anything. So in this way, the devotee becomes hard-hearted. Bhagavan himself says, for such devotees who don't show kindness towards other jivas, I appear as all devouring death and continue his existence in the fearsome material world. So Jiva Goswami says, do not give up your charitable activities, activities of feeding others, activities of giving resources and wealth to the needy, just because you have become a devotee. A devotee should carry out all these activities because these activities are very pleasing to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan does not like a person who considers himself or herself superior just because he's become a devotee and then neglects other jivas. Please remember, especially grihasthas, never give up charity. All the ashramas are looking with great expectation towards the grihastha ashrama. Please don't neglect your duties as a grihastha. Please continue to give charity and please give sufficient charity. There is a very nice verse in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Rikta panir na pashyet tam rajanam devatam gurum. Rikta pani, khali hath, empty handed. One should never see a raja, a king, devata, a deity, and the guru. So when we go to meet a politician or a king, we should never go empty handed. When we go and see a devata, a deity, we should never go empty handed. All grihasthas should understand, when we come to the temple, every day we come to the temple. There are some grihasthas who come every day to the temple. So even if we are coming every day to the temple, we should make a point that when we take darshan of the deity, we should put at least 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees every day in the temple. Every day there should be donation. Don't become miserly. Every day when a grihastha comes to the temple, he should give at least 10 rupees in the temple hundi. You should offer. So please remember, don't become miserable. Don't become miserly. The grihastha has adhikar for earning money, and this money should be given for satisfaction of all living entities. I recently saw, and there was an advertisement. I was playing a video, a kirtan on YouTube, and suddenly an advertisement came, and there was Amoglila Prabhu in the advertisement. And I said, "Arey bapre, what is there?" So Amoglila Prabhu was saying, "Please help us feed the needy people. We are through ISKCON Dwarka. We organize a very nice feast." So I said, "Arey, this is bumper offer. Not only am I giving to the deity, not only am I giving to Bhagavan, but that will be used by devotees for feeding other living entities." So this is like, this is the best possible type of dakshina. Why? Because not only are you giving to a devotee, not only are you giving to a Vaishnav, but that Vaishnav will offer prasad, the bhoga to Bhagavan, and the prasad will be offered to various living entities. So when such offers for the donation are there, we should definitely 100% we should grab the opportunity and give some dakshina. Because many places in the world we are not confident if we give dakshina whether it will be used properly or not. It will not be used properly. So definitely when such opportunities are there, we should make use of it. And grihasthas, please remember, always feed the poor, the needy, feed them prasadam, and always respect them. Very important instruction given by Bhagavan, and Jiva Goswami highlights this. A few more points before I pause for today. One should understand that Archanam, deity worship, requires Diksha. The first and most important thing in Archanam is Diksha. There are some devotees who bring a photograph of Bhagavan at home and who start offering incense, lamp, etc. This is very good because one should learn what one has to do after Diksha. So little bit of practice even before Diksha is not harmful. but one should understand that actually Archanam requires Diksha, or deity worship or service of Śrī-Vigraha requires Diksha. Without Diksha, all that Archanam is not really considered as very authentic by Shastra. So in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami says, Dvijanamanupetanam swakarmadhyayanadishu yathadhikaro nastiha syachopanayanadanum tat tathatra dikshitanam tu mantradevarchanadishu. Dvijanam anupetanam, just like Brahmin boys who are not invested with upavit, sacred thread. Even if he is born in Brahmin family, but if he is not given the sacred thread, till that time even the Brahmin boys do not have the right to perform their duties such as study of Vedas, etc. They get those rights only after getting invested with the sacred thread. Similarly, those who are not initiated by a guru do not have two rights. First is the right to chant mantras and the right to perform archan, etc. So, although we may be chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra before Diksha, that's okay. We should practice chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But our bhajan truly begins when we get initiated by a guru. The 64 limbs of bhakti, first limb is Guru Padashraya. So really, whatever archana, whatever japa we do before initiation is just a preparation for what we are going to do after initiation. So although we may be practicing this right now, we should know that we will become adhikari, eligible for initiation only, for deity worship only after initiation. And deity worship technically requires second initiation. In any ISKCON temple around the world, a person who is not second initiated will never be allowed to climb on the altar to do seva. So Archanam requires, according to ISKCON standards, Archanam requires second initiation, which means one has to be initiated as a Dvija in order to perform this Archanam. So this one should remember. Now, Archanam after Diksha, that once we receive Diksha, then also we start performing Archanam. Now, Shri Jiva Goswami tells us one thing. And Jai Dwarka Prabhu, I would like to ask one question. Prabhu, did all the Goswamis of Vrindavan, when they come to Vrindavan, did they immediately start deity worship, or was deity worship started after some time?
It was started after some time. Prabhuji.
So, really is deity worship required for everyone?
No, Prabhuji, as we have heard till now.
Yes. So Shri Jiva Goswami brings up this point very beautifully. Shri Jiva Goswami says that Yadyapi Shri Bhagavata Mate Pancharatra Adivat Archana Margasya Avashyakatvam Nasti. So he says, although in the opinion of Bhagavatam, actually there is no necessity of only following Archan as specified in Narad Pancharatra. Why? Tadvinapi Sharanapatya Ekatarenapi Purushartha Siddher Abhihitatvat. That because even without Archan, you can take any other limb of bhakti, kirtan, shravan, smaran, and you can perfect oneself. One can perfect oneself. Still, tathapi, Shri Naradadi Vartmanusar Saradbhi Shri Bhagavata Saha Sambandha Vishesham Diksha Vidhanena. Still, according to the path shown by Narad Muni, etc., those who have received Diksha from a guru should definitely perform Archan if they desire specific eternal relationship with Bhagavan. Jiva Goswami is pointing here specifically to the Grihasthas. Grihasthas who have become initiated, please don't become lazy and think that I will perform other limb of bhakti without performing Archanam. Please don't think like this. Archanam is definitely required for those who are initiated, and Archanam is compulsory for Grihasthas. Jiva Goswami says, अस्ति ये तु संपत्तिमंतो गृहस्थास तेषां तु अर्चना मार्ग एव मुख्य. Especially those who are rich and prosperous grihasthas, sampattimantah, they should definitely take up archanam as their main path. Main path means main path after shravanam kirtanam. Archanam should be their mainstay. tad akritva hi, and one who, if they give up this path, and nishkinchanavat keval smaranadi nishthat, and they think I like a sannyasi or like a babaji, I will simply engage in smaran 24 hours a day. Vitta shathya vipratipatti hisyat. Then they will incur one fault. What is the fault? Cheating tendency in relation to spending their money. They are earning so much money that money is supposed to be spent somewhere for Vishnu. And how will they spend? In Archan Bhakti. But if they become lazy and say, no, no, I am directly remembering Bhagwan. Many times in India, you see people are like this. Why should we chant Bhagwan's names or worship the deity? In our mind, Bhagwan is there 24 hours a day. Such people are performing shatkya, cheating, basically, Jiva Goswami says. And especially with the shatkya, cheating of not using their money and resources in the service of Bhagwan. Everybody should compulsorily give a certain amount of money for the seva of Bhagwan. Consider it Bhagwan tax. Every grihastha is supposed to give Bhagwan tax every month, for serving the deity. If you don't give a tax, you will become chore. And once you become a chore, then in your next life, the chore is caught and then the chore is, made to suffer. Of course, a grihastha should understand that by remaining a miser, a kanjus, one is harming oneself. A grihastha should never be kanjus. Actually, I am speaking, all of you are brahmacharis, I should be speaking to myself. I am a grihastha. These instructions are for me, that I should not be kanjus. I should not be a miserly person. Because sometimes grihasthas act in very miserly ways. I remember one incident from the life of my Guru Maharaj, Srimad Radha Govind Das Goswami Maharaj. My Guru Maharaj used to preach in the villages of Bihar, and he made many devotees. One devotee was His Holiness Gaur Krishna Das Goswami Maharaj. So when Gaur Krishna Das Goswami Maharaj was made a devotee, and he was a dedicated follower of my Guru Maharaj, and my Guru Maharaj taught him how to do yagyas and how to perform various yagyas, so that you can do purohit karma. You can perform the functions of a purohit, and in this way you can live your life as a devotee. So he used to perform various purohit karma, and people never used to give him much. One time, one householder invited Gaur Krishna Maharaj to do one yagya, Pumsavan. Pumsavan means this yagya is for ensuring that a nice child is born to me, and the grihastha had in his mind that a boy should be born. So please come and perform Pumsavan. So Gaur Krishna Maharaj went and did Pumsavan for that person. That time he was not in sannyas ashram, he was brahmachari. So he did Pumsavan. And then after doing Pumsavan, that person gave 5 rupees to Gaur Krishna Maharaj. And 5 rupees and topi towel. You know what is topi? Topi means some headgear, and one towel, banyan, vest, and that's all he gave. Itna hi bas. And he was very happy. Wow, I got 5 rupees. He happily came and met Maharaj. And Maharaj, I'm very happy today. I got something in return of my Purohit karma. Maharaj said, what did you get? 5 rupees. Maharaj, what? Only 5 rupees? Bas, only 5 rupees? Maharaj was very angry. Maharaj went to the home of that householder, and Maharaj said, you had in your mind that you want a boy, and for this you are performing this Pumsavan, and you are giving only 5 rupees? I say to you that a girl will be born to you. So, and it so happened that a girl was born to him. So we don't differentiate between a girl child and a boy child. But some people have a specific desire that I want a boy. Some people have a specific desire, I want a girl. But Maharaj said your desire will be reversed. You will get the exact opposite of what you desire. So that is what happened. So we disciples, when we hear this, we understand. When any Brahmana comes to our home, grihasthas, please be very careful. 51 rupees is not the dakshina. Please remember. 51 is long time ago. That was 51 was in Satya Yuga. Today it's Kali Yuga. Please understand. 51 was long time ago. So please don't get satisfied with 51. So please reciprocate nicely. Open your pockets and give nicely. One should understand, when one gives a dakshina, when one gives a donation, to whom is one giving? Kisko de re bhai dakshina? Jai Dwarka Prabhu, let me ask one question. I am a grihastha. Tomorrow, let's say you come to my home and you perform some puja for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. And suppose I give you, let's say I give you 5,001 rupees for the puja. Prabhuji, didn't I lose 5,001 rupees from my pocket?
No, Prabhuji.
Arey Prabhu, from my bank account 5,000 rupees are less, Prabhu. I transferred using Google Pay. Suddenly message came that 5,000 rupees have been deducted. So I gave you 5,000 rupees, so 5,000 rupees are lesser with me, right?
Prabhuji, actually, Srila Prabhupada has told at one place that if charity is given to a qualified Brahmana, and it is received by the donor in multiple number of times. And that is, I think, in second canto.
Right. But that, Prabhu, I understand. But from somebody who's a rationalist, he will say, Mera to 5,000, I lost my 5,000 rupees here. So I could have, I could have given him 51 rupees, but I lost 5,000 rupees. So you are correct, Prabhuji. When we are giving to somebody, we should understand that whom we are giving to, actually we will receive in our future lives. So when I am giving to somebody, I should give with the mindset that I am giving to my own self in my future life. I hope you are able to understand. Yes, true. When I am
Yes.
giving the dakshina to somebody, to whom am I giving? So I am giving to Jai Dwarka Prabhu. But through Jai Dwarka Prabhu, I am giving it to my own self in my next life. पूर्वदत्ता तु या विद्या, पूर्वदत्तम तु यद धनम, पूर्वदत्ता तु या कन्या अग्रे धावती धावती. Purvadatta tu ya vidya, whatever knowledge I gave to others as charity. If I am a teacher, I taught somebody, then whatever knowledge I gave, Purvadattam tu yad dhanam, whatever wealth I gave, Purvadatta tu ya kanya. And if I had a daughter and I gave that daughter to a qualified person in marriage, Agre dhavati dhavati. In my next life, before I take birth, all these things will come running and be present in my next life before I take birth. So very importantly, whatever charity I am giving to my own self in my future lives. So Jai Dwarka Prabhu, let's say the giver is also you and the receiver is also you. How much will you give?
As much as possible I can.
Yeah. Suppose you have 10,000 rupees and
Yes.
you come in front of yourself. You of the
Yes.
future life come in front of yourself. How much will you give to your own self?
Entire 10,000.
Then in this life, you will have nothing remaining. So you have
Yes,
to
because
balance
yes,
between
yes,
this life and the next life. So Shastra
yes,
says
yes.
give what percentage should one give?
Generally 50% is
Yes. So if I am giving to myself in my next life, I will share with myself. So I want something for this life, something for the next life. So I will give 50%. So therefore, the niyam is charity. The ideal charity is 50% of what one has earned. So this is what Sri Jiva Goswami says. Finally, one last thing, Grihasthas, never ever be miserly. Kanjus, जिसको we say makhi chus. ऐसा, don't live your life like a miser. And there is a very nice verse. Vedic scriptures, they make fun of the miser. And Prabhuji, there is a very nice verse. And this verse is as follows. कृपणेन समोदात न भूतो न भविष्यति अस्पृशन्नेव वित्तानि यः परेभ्यः प्रयच्छति. कृपणेन समोदाता न भूतो न भविष्यति. Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you know who is the most charitable person in the world?
no, Prabhuji.
सबसे बड़ा दानी, the most charitable person in the world is
Kripana.
Kripana. The conjuice, the most miserly person in the world is the biggest donor. Arey, how come? Kaise? How is it possible? अस्पृशन्नेव वित्तानि यह परेभ्यः प्रयच्छति. Arey, even without touching with his own hands, he gives all of his wealth to other people in the world. I hope you understand, Prabhuji. Other people,
Yes,
they usually touch wealth with their own hands and give it to others while they are alive. But this person doesn't give. And after he dies, automatically it is taken by somebody else. If he would have given with his own hands, he would at least receive the pious credit of doing charity. But this person doesn't even want to receive that credit. He is such a big donor that he doesn't even want the credit, doesn't even want the piety, just gives away all the wealth when he dies to others, because anyways it is going to be taken by somebody else. So in this way, Vedic scriptures make fun of those who are miserly. The devotee should never, ever, ever be miserly, not towards other living entities, not towards other devatas, not towards anybody. This is the attitude of the devotee who is performing Archanam. So with this, dear devotees, I'll pause the second part of my presentation. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit Vidvamsah Purayantu Tat. Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit Tad Guroreva Menahi. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit. If there's any mistake that I made in the presentation, Vidvamsah, you are all learned people. Purayantu Tat. You please correct any mistake. Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit. But if there's anything nice in the presentation, Tad Guroreva. It belongs to my Guru Janas. Who are my Guru Janas? My Diksha Guru, Shri Srimad Radha Govinda Das Goswami Maharaj, my Shiksha Gurus, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada, all the Vaishnavas from all the branches of all the Vaishnav Sampradayas in the past, in the present, in the future. That includes all of you. All of you are also my Gurus, so it belongs to you. May nahi, doesn't belong to me. So thank you very much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So over to you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Yes, thank you so much, Puri, for such a nice presentation. And I would say that it could be the best of the seminar to clarify the issue of demigod worship and how the devotee should see demigods. And you covered the aspect of donation also very nicely. So I think it will be very much relevant for, especially in our case, because temple construction is already going on.
Right. Yes, I would really like to say all those to all the devotees who are watching this video live or in recording, that there are many places in the world where ISKCON temples are being constructed. ISKCON Dwarka is one such temple which is being constructed. And as I said yesterday, we are undoing the work of Bhaktiar Khilji. I said yesterday, a very important work this is, please understand. It's a very important work. So we are undoing so many centuries of destruction, and we are trying to re-establish Vedic Dharma, Sanatan Dharma. Devotees, open your pockets. Don't be miserable. Open your pockets. So I think there should also be an announcement made tomorrow. We should make an announcement for charity, please. So tomorrow, please, if there is any flyer or any poster, it should be displayed tomorrow. So tomorrow after the class, we'll display a flyer or a poster where the various charity options are to begin. I want to say one thing, devotees, if you liked any part of the lecture, I don't say this. Usually I never say this, but I'm saying this. If you liked any part of this series of this seminar, then you should give something to the Brahmana who spoke. You should not give. So if you are happy with the seminar, then give to ISKCON Dwarka. Whatever you wanted to give to me, please give to ISKCON Dwarka as charity. Tomorrow, all the details will be displayed. Please help the temple in construction and all its especially there is a Food for Life project, Annadan project, which is going on. Please help in all these various projects, dear devotees. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, please continue.
Yes. Amogla, should I continue with the question or yes? What is okay? Yes. So Prabhuji, actually, I had many questions, but I would ask 2, 3, then some other devotees, and later if I get chance.
Sure.
Prabhuji, one question is asked by His Grace Raj Parishit Prabhu. He called me in morning, so that is Prabhuji. In last class, as you were highlighting the why impersonalists actually they take only one aspect and like they accept Om, but they reject deity worship. So one important aspect that was highlighted by Prabhuji was that they generally do not accept the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam only. They just say go back to Vedas only. So what is the explanation that we have to give to them?
Even if they say that we don't accept the authority of Puranas, we don't accept the authority of, so they, at least you accept the authority of Mahabharata. At least you accept the authority of Ramayana, the Smritis, Manusmriti, etc. You know, so all of these, if somebody says, I don't even believe in Mahabharata, I don't believe in Ramayana, then what do you believe in? So those people whom you are referring to, they actually believe in Ramayana, Mahabharata. They believe that Krishna was a character, and they don't believe that Krishna was Supreme Lord, but they say he was Yogeshwar. But whenever verses of deity worship come up, they say, "Arey, this verse is interpolated." Why? Because this doesn't fit with our understanding. Many places in Mahabharata, there are verses of deity worship, temple, and when you show them these verses, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Pashya me Partha Rupani." Oh Parth, see my multiple forms. You point out this verse to them in the Bhagavad Gita. They say, oh, this verse is interpolated. So this is the immediately you can catch them. You can, if they say we don't accept Srimad Bhagavatam, then do you accept Mahabharata? Yes, we accept. Then they have to accept at least Mahabharata. No, we don't accept Mahabharata. We accept only those portions which fit with our understanding. Then the hypocrisy is very easily revealed. That is called Ardha Kukkuti Nyaya. Matlab, accepting only that part of the chicken which will give us, nice flesh, and rejecting the nice eggs, and rejecting that part which is eating. So this is Ardha Kukkuti Nyaya. So we should point it out very openly. I understand whom you are speaking about, and one such person was once one such person came and started speaking to me about this. I said, do you accept Vedanta Sutra? I'll prove to you from Vedanta Sutra, from Mahabharata, from Ramayana, many other places, Manusmriti. And their Manusmritis also, they have produced a Manusmriti in which they have labeled many verses as interpolation. Whichever doesn't fit with their understanding, they say it is interpolation. Bhagavad Gita, they released a Bhagavad Gita, 70 श्लोक वाली भगवद गीता. अरे भगवद गीता कितने 700 है ना बस भगवद है 700. They released
they do not consider value of 0.
So it is like whatever doesn't fit with our understanding has to be either discarded or reinterpreted. So this is actually the worst form of hypocrisy, and not accepting what is directly there in the Vedas. So this is what this is how we can counter them. But many of them don't very easily agree because they are very fanatical in their mindset and approach. But at least we should not let our devotees become affected by their so-called dushprachar. So that is what we can ensure. All right.
Yes, Puji. I have unmuted Raj Parishit Puji also in case he wants to have further clarification on this.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, very much. And one, I have two more questions. They say that you do प्राण प्रतिष्ठा in DT. हम आपको एक मृत व्यक्ति लाके देते हैं, उसमें प्राण प्रतिष्ठा करके दिखाओ, फिर हम मानेंगे कि you are doing प्राण प्रतिष्ठा in DTs.
So what we call as prana pratishtha, what the other sampradayas call as prana pratishtha, we call as avahan. Avahan means although Bhagwan is already present there, Bhagwan is the particular deity, but we do avahan. Avahan is we invoke Bhagwan's mercy and invoke Bhagwan's presence in the deity by chanting specific mantras, so that Bhagwan will start accepting our offerings. So why do we do avahan? Why do we do our what we call pran, other sampradayas called pran pratishtha. So Gaudiya Vaishnavas call it avahan. Why do we do avahan? We do avahan so that Bhagwan starts accepting our offerings in the form of that deity. So our process is called avahanam. That is, we are inviting Bhagwan, requesting Bhagwan to accept our offerings from the as the deity, as the Śrī-Vigraha. So that is our understanding, Prabhu, of Śrī-Vigraha. It's not that deity is lifeless, sudden Bhagavan is like a jeev, and we insert the jeev into the stone, and then it becomes living entity. It's not like that. Many places in the world, because of the influence of the Smarta Sampradaya, it has become like that. That the murti is lifeless. Then you take pran and you bring pran into it, and then then that murti becomes worshipable. So I'll tell you one incident, Raj Parishit Prabhu. This happened in Pandharpur. Pandharpur, many places, some time ago in Pandharpur, they did not allow non-Hindus, and they did not allow Hindus from lower jatis to come and touch the deity. But after a court decision, they started allowing lower jatis and non-Hindus to also come and touch the deity. You can directly touch the deity at Shri Pandharpur. Some Brahmanas, Smarta Brahmanas, got so upset that what they did was, they did Pran Visarjan ceremony of Bhagwan Vitthal. Pran Visarjan means we are taking out the Pran from this deity, and because now he is going to be touched by those who are Shudras, Chandal, etc. So we will take out the Pran of this deity and we will establish him somewhere else. So this was actually done, but they don't understand that it's Bhagavan is not like Martya Deha. You can take out the Pran and you can insert the Pran. Okay, it's not like a SD card, na? Insert बाहर निकाल दी, ऐसा नहीं है वो. So sometimes people, because of this understanding, we make Bhagavan just like a normal conditioned living entity in the material world. So this understanding should be avoided, Prabhuji. We do avahan, we invite Bhagavan to accept our offerings. Bhagavan is already present there. We simply do avahan. We invite Bhagavan to accept our offerings. That's all. So I hope this clarifies, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. And my second question is, Sarvadeva Namaskaram Keshavam Pratigachyate. It is understood that whatever we worship, that is ultimately Krishna will get it.
Right.
But in your lecture today, you quoted Jiva Goswami, and you said that this 5 prominent deities, those who are worshipping these deities, they will ultimately go to Krishna. But in Bhagavad Gita 7.23, it is said that Deva Deva Yajo Yanti Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. So how to understand this? Worship will go, but worshipper will not go to Krishna.
Very nice. So your question is that those 5 main prominent deities which I specified, amongst them, those who are worshipping Vishnu will directly attain Vishnu. But those who are worshipping the other 4, what about them? They are also on the path to attaining Shri Vishnu, not in this life, but maybe in some future life. In Bhakti Sandarbha, Shri Jiva Goswami will quote a verse. I did not specify that verse. That he says that those who have worshipped Vrishadhvaja, he uses the term Vrishadhvaja, which means those who have worshipped Lord Shiva in previous lives, those people will those people attain the birth of a Vaishnava, or those people become a Vaishnava in future lives. I will share my screen and I will show the verse which I am referring to. Sri Jiva Goswami quotes Adi Varaha Purana. Janmantara sahasreshu samaradhya vrishadhvajam Vaishnavatvam labed dhiman sarva papa kshaye sati. Janmantara sahasreshu, for hundreds of lives, if a person has worshipped Vrishadhvaja, Bhagavan Shiva, then he will definitely attain Vaishnavatvam, sarva papa kshaye sati, because all his sins have been removed by worship of Bhagavan Shiva. So, although it's not that everybody has to worship for 100 lives, maybe one life also they will come. So one should understand that gradually they are on the way. I will give you one example, Raj Parikshit Prabhu. For example, if see my friend is Jai Dwarka Prabhu. Let's say me and Jai Dwarka Prabhu are both in Mumbai. And now Jai Dwarka Prabhu starts for Delhi. So he just leaves my place. He started for Delhi. And he has just reached the street downstairs. And somebody comes and asks, where is Jai Dwarka Prabhu? So I say, अरे वो तो दिल्ली चला गया. He went to Delhi. अरे अभी he is just right downstairs. अभी he has not reached Delhi. But while saying, what do I say? अरे दिल्ली चला गया वो तो. He went to Delhi. So similarly, when the verse says that all of them attain Vishnu, इसका मतलब है they're just downstairs. अभी right now they're going to attain Vishnu. So that is what is meant by the. I hope this clarifies.
Means after attaining the specific loka of that devta, they will further progress in Krishna Bhakti.
Yeah. Progress is in all the lokas. You can make progress. Even in Swarga, you can make progress. Jiva Goswami is going to say this in Bhakti Sandarbha. He's going to give the example of Chitraketu. Chitraketu we know. Chitraketu, after giving up his body, he became a Gandharva. And both his arms were around Apsaras. And you can see both his arms around Apsara. He was singing Bhagwan Hari's songs. अभी आजकल ऐसा ISKCON में there is somebody will call him Sahajiya outright. अरे 2 arms around 2 girls and you are singing Hare Krishna. और ये तो Sahajiya है, आप समझ रहे हो? But Jiva Goswami said this is how life in Swarga is basically. So, but still he was singing the glories of Lord Hari. So still he attained supreme. His progress was continued from there. So in all planets, one can continue one's devotional service. But the only thing is higher planets enjoyment is very high. So it is better to do it here as much as possible. So I hope this clarifies, Prabhuji.
But it is said that only Manushya Yoni is Karma Yoni. All others are Bhoga Yoni, even the Yonis of Devta. Then how one can perform Bhakti there?
So Bhakti has nothing to do with karma. Karmanu bandhini manushya loke. Karma ka bandhan manushya lok mein. Only the bonds of karma, you get new karma only in manushya deha. But in other bodies, you simply enjoy or suffer the results. But while you are enjoying or suffering, you can perform bhakti because bhakti has absolutely nothing to do with karma. So you don't need to be in a karma yoni in order to do bhakti. Bhakti you can do in sarva yoni. So I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, now I am unmuting Omkar Prabhu.
Okay.
Omkar
And
Prabhuji, please.
yeah, and please, Amok Leela Prabhu and yourself can let me know what's the time limit because I have to respect the time of the devotees who are sitting there. All right. So please let me know what is the time limit.
Yes, Prabhuji can say about
I am okay. Yeah, I am okay as long as Amok Leela Prabhu is okay. That's all. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Please continue.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna,
Omkar
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I had a question about the deities. Different sampradayas have a little different understanding of the deities. Like Sri Sampradaya has the understanding, as far as I know, about the Pran Pratishtha, and our Sampradaya has a understanding that the deity is the Avahan is done. That is, you can say, in a way, for the whole deity becomes a Bhagavan. So can you please explain this different ideas about the deity?
See, the thing is, there is a very nice verse in Shastra. Deve tirthe dvije mantre daivagye bheshaje gurau yadrishi bhavana yasya siddhir bhavati tadrishi. So in 7 things, आपकी जैसी भावना है आपको सिद्धि वैसी मिलती है. Whatever feeling you have, you get reciprocation and perfection accordingly. What are the 7 things? Deve, in a devata, in a deity. Tirthe, in a holy place. Dvije, in a brahmana. Mantre, in a mantra. Daivagye, in an astrologer. If you have more faith, you will think that I am receiving more reciprocation. Bheshaje, in a doctor. If you have more faith in a doctor, there are more chances of you getting cured. Gurau, and in a guru. Yadrishi bhavana yasya, जैसी जिसकी भावना. सिद्धिर भवति तादृशी, वो सिद्धि भी उसकी वैसी होती है. He gets perfection according to the degree of his faith. So some people have faith that Bhagavan is within the deity. So that is also good. As I said, the deity becomes a DT becomes an indicator of Bhagwan. But we Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't like that understanding actually. The DT is not a shortcut file to the original file in Vaikuntha. The DT, the Gaudiya Vaishnav term is Archa Avatar. You know, what is the meaning of the term avatar, Omkar Prabhu?
Avatarati.
Who
So, descends.
Aprapanchat prapanche avataranam khalu avatara. That from the spiritual world he descends into the material world, and that is known as avatar, basically. So our conception is this, and somebody else's conception may be that DT is basically that there is a pran which has to be put in the DT, otherwise it is stone. Third person's conception will be that, you know, it is always a stone. So that is the Mayavadi. So Mayavadi's worship will not be accepted. Somebody who considers the DT, you know, prana to have come within the DT, DT will reciprocate accordingly. DT will say, okay, so you have to worship me according to Vidhi. How do you have to worship me, Omkar Prabhu? According to
Vidhi.
Vidhi. Because your conception was like that. You know, ki without Vidhi, you know, Bhagwan will not be present. Unless I perform a certain Vidhi, Bhagwan will not become present in this form. So your mind was Vidhi centric. So Bhagwan will also become Vidhi centric to you. If your mind is Raga centric, then you will do Avahan, Bhagwan will be present there. You can perform Raganuga Bhakti. I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, sir.
So if a Sri Vaishnava conception of DT also Bhagwan accepts. But then Bhagwan says, if through this conception you can only perform Vaidhi Bhakti. But if you want to have spontaneous Raga Bhakti, you should have the Raganuga concept. That, you know, I don't need to perform a specific procedure in order to do Pran Pratishtha. Bhagwan comes by prema of the Bhakta. What is the main thing in Avahan? What is the main thing in, you know, inviting a deity? Please tell me.
The feeling or the prayer of a devotee, the love of a devotee.
Yeah, so the love of a devotee is the most important thing in Avahan. That is the most important thing in inviting a deity. That is the most important factor in inviting a deity. So we should understand. Although other, you know, we do the Vedic rituals, everything, but the most important factor is the invocation by a Shuddha Bhakta. So that is the Ragapatha. So I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Roji. Roji, I had a second question.
Right.
We were speaking about the form of Krishna. I mean, yesterday in the lecture, we were speaking about it. So I had a question about this. Like, for example, anything which has form, it requires a energy. It requires an energy to sustain that form. So it makes that thing dependent on the energy. But in the case of Bhagavan, we say that Bhagavan is not dependent on his Shakti. So what is it that he is using, or I mean, how is he manifesting his form?
The thing is, Bhagwan and his Shakti are non-different from each other. So the Shakti's existence is dependent on Bhagwan, and Shakti is taking ashraya of Bhagwan. Now, how is Bhagwan doing all this? How is Bhagwan able to control this Shakti? That is not in the capability of Jiva to know. Therefore, some aspects of Bhagwan and Bhagwan Shakti are labeled as Achintya. When we say Achintya Bheda Bhed, the Bhed and Abhed is between whom, Prabhu? Bhagwan and his
Shaktis.
So there are some things which we don't understand, like, because some things are described in a limited way. Why? Because the Shastra, main purpose of Shastra is not to enter into the mind of Bhagwan and describe how Bhagwan works. Main purpose is how the material world works, who are the jivas, etc. But in short, Bhagwan controls his Shakti, and the Shakti eternally makes his form visible to the eyes of the devotees. So that is what it is. What is the function of Shakti? Function of Shakti is to make his form visible. I hope you are able to understand what is the function of Shakti, Prabhu, to make his form
visible to us.
That is the main point that I was trying to. So that is why she is called Swarup Shakti. All right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now I think we can give opportunities to the devotees in temple hall to ask questions. Prabhuji.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you so much for the lecture, Prabhuji. Your Vani is glorious as always, Prabhuji. My question is, Prabhuji, the verse that you quoted from Bhakti Sandarbh 106, Padma Puran 688:43, that one who worships the prominent deities as Durga, Shakti, Surya, and Shiva, they ultimately come to worship of Shri Vishnu. And an analogy was given, just like rainwater, it comes down ultimately to the ocean.
Right.
Actually, this analogy is sometimes or many times used by Mayavadis also, that
Mhm.
ultimately everything merges into one. But Srila Prabhupada like condemns this and says that no, after evaporation, that water goes back again to rainwater and comes down. So is that analogy, if we go deep, can it be the same that by taking the worship of Vishnu also, they again fall back to the worship of other devtas?
No, the thing is, the analogy given is that just as rainwater from various sources, this rainwater from Mathura ultimately ends up in Yamuna, Yamuna ends up in the ocean. Rainwater in, let's say, in other part of India ultimately ends up in the ocean. So ultimately rainwater from 5 sources will end up in the ocean. Similarly, worship offered to worshippers of various devatas will ultimately end up, becoming worshippers of Shri Vishnu. Their worship also ultimately reaches Shri Vishnu. Now impersonalists sometimes say, what the impersonalists say, you worship any one of them, including Vishnu, ultimately you have to reach the impersonal Brahman. That is their understanding. So their understanding is not correct, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan himself has said, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. Actually, I am the pratishtha of Brahma. So, if who is the pratishtha? Bhagavan is the pratishtha. And who is the pratisthit? Who is dependent upon Bhagavan? That is the Brahma aspect. So, by saying that Brahma is the pratishtha and Bhagavan is dependent upon it, you are making it upside down. Na? It's against what is given in Bhagavad Gita. So, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. Brahma ki pratishtha main hu. I am the base of, I am the support of the impersonal Brahman feature. Instead, what they are doing is they are saying impersonal Brahman is the base of all of these forms. So that is not therefore accepted. See, Prabhu, Adi Shankaracharya wrote one line of thought, or everybody else after Adi Shankaracharya has opposed Adi Shankaracharya. Everybody else has opposed Adi Shankaracharya. One person is writing in this direction, 5 people are writing in the opposite direction. There is a very strong reason for these 5 people writing in opposite direction. What is the reason? Because they know that it is not correct. Absolutely not correct. Forget about Vaishnav Sampradaya, Prabhuji. Just 50 years after Adi Shankaracharya wrote his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Just 50 years after Adi Shankaracharya, there was a very brilliant scholar. His name is Bhaskaracharya. Bhaskaracharya was very expert in all grammar, Nyaya, Mimamsa. He came to know that, this Adi Shankaracharya has written a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, and he has said that Ishwar and Jeev are just, Brahma and Jeev are one. He became very upset with this. 50 years after Adi Shankaracharya's commentary, Bhaskaracharya wrote his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. I am showing you on the screen, Prabhuji. This is Shri Bhaskaracharya Virachitasya. So this is Shri Bhaskaracharya's commentary on Shariraka Mimamsa Bhashya on Vedanta Sutra. In the very introduction, he says, Sutrabhipraya Samvritya Swabhipraya Prakashanat. अरे सूत्रों की आड़ में खुद का ही मीनिंग बता रहा है कोई तो. So on the pretext of sutra, somebody is giving his own meaning. Vyakhyatam ye ridam shastram. Somebody misexplained, incorrectly explained Vedanta Sutra. Vyakhyayam tan nivritte. I am explaining Vedanta Sutra again to remove that, and I am giving the proper understanding. So Bhaskaracharya is not from a Vaishnava Sampradaya, Prabhu, is a smart Brahmana. But he also considered Adi Shankaracharya's explanation to be completely untenable. He wrote his explanation just to speak against Adi Shankaracharya, just 50 years after Adi Shankaracharya. So it's very clear, Prabhuji, that and Bhaskaracharya's opinion was Bheda Bhed. So Bhaskaracharya's school of thought is Bheda Bhed. So it's not, don't think that only our Gaudiya Vaishnavas are using the term Bheda Bhed. The first person to use the term Bheda Bhed was Sri Bhaskaracharya. And very clearly wrote, Sutra Abhipraya Samvritya. Yeah, Sutra ki aad mein, in the pretext of explaining Sutra Swa Abhipraya, he is giving his own interpretation, which is not correct. So this, Prabhuji, we should understand. All these opinions, although they may be given, they are not justified from any of the other commentators of Vedanta. I hope that clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29-26, which you quoted. Because I'm taking care of online services here in Dwarka, Prabhuji. So there are few channels which are actually quoting this verse to promote like Mayavad philosophy. Although the translation of Srila Prabhupada and whatever you given to the translation to Jiva Goswami, it is very clear. They actually tell that whoever makes the difference between me and other jivas on differential outlook, I shall cast fear like that. So, Prabhuji, can you in understanding the anvay of the verse, Prabhuji, please?
All right.
For everyone.
So yeah, so Atman, the verse you are saying is Atmanasya parasyapi yah karoti antarodaram tasya bhinna drisho mrityur vidhadhe bayam ulbanam. So this is the verse which we were discussing. People, you correctly point out that many people, they say that this verse basically is giving an impersonal understanding of the Siddhanta. So let's go to the commentaries and let's understand this verse straight from the commentaries. First, let's understand what is the meaning of the verse. So this verse, I am showing many commentaries. One is by Sridhar Swami, and one is by Sri Jiva Goswami, Madhvacharya, etc. So Atmanascha Parasyapi, between himself and between others. Yah karoti antarodaram, one who does antar udaram. Antar udaram means he sees with a differential outlook. Tasya bhinna drisho, for such a person who is having separatist mindset, mrityur vidadhe bhayam ulbanam. Sridhar Swami says antara antaram bhedam, antara antaram bhedam, which means antara means difference, ut means api, alam means aram means alpam. So antara, uta, aram. So even little bit of difference. So alpam api bhedam yaha pashyati iti artha, one who sees even little difference between himself and others. Yadva antara madhe udaram shariram. Or he gives another explanation, that one who sees any difference between his body and the body of others. Mrityur aham tasya bhayam vidadhe karomi. So I bestow fear upon him. One who sees even little bit of difference between oneself and others. This tends towards a impersonal understanding that there is no difference between me and you. So you and me are exactly the same. Therefore, Jiva Goswami clarifies. See what Jiva Goswami says. Atha swakarma purvakam archanam kurvamscha bhutadayam vina na siddhyati. Even though you are doing deity worship, you should be kind to other living entities. This is the meaning of the verse. Antar udaram udar bhedena bhedam karoti. Na tu mad adhisthanatvena atma samam pashyati. No, don't think that he sees exactly the same. Just because I am present everywhere, therefore you are equal to me and I am equal to you. This is not the understanding that should be taken. And then he says, Tatastak Shuditadikam api drishva. Then if he sees somebody who is hungry, Swodaradikam eva kevalam sambibharti, he feeds only himself. Such a person is indicated here. Not the person, the understanding is not that we should see absolute non-difference. The understanding is just like other people feel hungry, I feel hungry, other people also feel hungry. Just as I feel unhappy, other people also feel unhappy. So I should not differentiate, I should also feed them. So don't simply feed yourself, feed others also. This was the point that I was trying to make. So Srila Sridhar Swami's interpretation is taken by them, but we basically take the Vaishnava interpretation. That is, one jiva is separate from other jiva, Madhvacharya. One jiva is never equal to the other jiva. So this is what it is. So that understanding has been specified by me. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Jathar anala jwala yuktam yatha atmanas. Just as I become troubled by fire of the stomach, tatha parasyapi iti gyatva. And so others also become troubled by hunger. So shudhartham jivam atmanam iva bhojayet. Feed others like you feed yourself. Anyatha mrityu bhayam na tarati. And otherwise you will not overcome the repeated birth and death. So this is all Prabhu explained by the Acharyas. So Sridhar Swami's interpretation is causing that. Sridhar Swami's interpretation is sometimes on the impersonal line. Why it is like that? Baldev Vidya Bhushan explained in this Tattva Sandarbh commentary that Sridhar Swami sometimes interprets according to the impersonalist because he has to also cater to an impersonalist audience, although the scripture is mainly a Vaishnav literature. So it is called Badish Amish Nyay. Matlab, in order to catch a fish, something impure, you have to attach an impure substance on the hook, a worm. So in order to catch an impure impersonalist, you have to attach some impure philosophy on the hook and catch him. So Sridhar Swami sometimes does that. All right. I said, this is what it is.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This part of video will be very useful for, in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, now I had a few questions, Prabhuji, if you allow.
Sure, Prabhu. I'm here as long as all the devotees are okay. I am okay, Prabhuji. I derive nourishment from questions. So please go ahead. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one question was that as you suggested that devotees should spend money on archana, otherwise they will be counted as like miser. What if a grihastha is not able to maintain deities at home, but he donates for the archana at temple? Because that was the only reason which was given. So
the thing is, the principle is not dan. The principle is not charity. The principle is archan for grihastha. Why does a grihastha spend his money for his personal archanam? The reason is because the grihastha has to spend not only his time but his money in getting purified. If he starts doing archan, he'll have to remain pure in so many ways. He will have to take bath every time. He'll have to remain pure. So that is also a part of archanam. And he will have to make sure that his thought process is pure. Otherwise, if it is simply about donation, then it is that is not, donation will not ensure the same purity as personal engagement in archanam. Therefore, Jiva Goswami says that a grihastha is supposed to personally engage in archanam. There are many contaminations for grihastha. Please, Prabhuji, try to understand this. There is a verse in Manusmriti. I will speak this verse. Kandani, Peshani, Chulli, Udakumbhi, Chamarjani, Panchasuna grihasthasya tabhir swargam na vindati. There are 5 slaughterhouses in the home of every grihastha. Panchasuna. What are the 5 slaughterhouses? Kandani, wo kadai rehti na, what we used to fry, the vessel for frying. So that is the first slaughterhouse. Peshani, pisne wala. If we grind any spices, nowadays we don't grind, we export our slaughter to somebody else. Everest is doing the slaughtering for us. So whenever we grind something, that is also a slaughterhouse. Kandani, Peshani, Chulli. And when we, light the fire on the stove, that also kills many living entity. Udakumbhi, when we fill water, that water also drowns many microorganisms. So Marjani, and when we do jhadu, when we clean using broom, many living entities are driven away. They are killed. Panchasunaha grihasthasya. A grihastha has 5 slaughterhouses in his home. So Jai Dwarka Prabhu, I am having 5 slaughterhouses in my home. So say only by donation chalega kya Prabhuji? Boliye. Is it okay?
No, Prabhuji.
So he should do archanam, no? Right? Because that will ensure that whatever slaughterhouses are there in his home, a grihastha has 5 slaughterhouses in his home. So that effect has to be reversed and his home has to be purified. How will the home be purified unless and until archanam is done? So it's not ki bhai archanam ka kaam I will, what do they say? I will export to some outsource. I will outsource to some temple and I will give donation. No laziness. A grihastha should personally perform archan. Otherwise, every grihastha should know that there are 5 slaughterhouses waiting in his home to give him negative reactions. So therefore, every grihastha should personally engage in archana bhakti. Therefore, Jiva Goswami's recommendation. I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. And we can take more questions from Temple Hall, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
This is regarding like you mentioned like non-Vedic deities, if we worship, there will be no result. So I just want to ask, like sometimes they get few results by worshipping non-Vedic deities.
Hmm.
Is it because of past karmas they are getting the reactions, or and also like is there any benefit, spiritual or anything benefit they will get by worshipping non-Vedic deities?
No, I said that non-Vedic deities should not be worshipped. Somebody worships, they get some result, that result is ultimately given by Bhagavan. That we know. But the principle is non-Vedic deities should be complete, that worship should be completely given up. Now, I'll tell you one example. There was a very great fighter in Maharashtra, and then he got deified. Deified means somebody started considering him as the incarnation of Shiva. So he is known as Malhar. Malhar he is known as. So they worship Malhar with turmeric powder. So wherever they worship Malhar, there is this yellow turmeric. You go. I have gone to the temple of Malhar. It's like complete yellow turmeric powder. Every they consider him incarnation of Shiva. So basically, somebody who became deified. You know what is deified? Somebody who got the status of a deity, but his name is not mentioned in the Vedas. And so many Gram Devtas are also Ye Devi, Wo Devi. So so many. You go to Gujarat, every village has some Devi. उसका नाम ही नहीं सुना है आपने. So what to do? ऐसा. So if you want to worship a deity, worship Vedic deity. Non-Vedic deities tend to become, many of the non-Vedic deities, they tend to pull you in directions outside Vedic dharma. So one should absolutely not engage in non-Vedic worship. Somebody may be engaging in non-Vedic worship, but then they may get results. Those results are also according to their prarabdha or according to what Bhagavan gives. But the Vaishnava should not engage in worshipping non-Vedic deities. Only Vedic deities, and even Vedic deities besides Hari should be worshipped as limbs of Hari. That was the Siddhanta which I specified. So this Siddhanta should become clear. So I hope this answer clarifies.
One more question, like yesterday you spoke like 16,000, they were not expansion, they were original Krishna. So
Right.
can you explain like what was in the Ras Leela? They were expansions or
Original Krishna. Original 16,000 original, also in Ras Leela. But the thing is, in Ras Leela, nobody was allowed to see, and Narad Muni didn't come and become fainted. Narad Muni fainted in Dwarka. So Jiva Goswami makes a point about it. Jiva Goswami gets a chance to make a point about it and explain the Siddhanta. Although the same thing happened in that Leela also, in Ras Leela also. And the Gopas, when they are sitting around Krishna for Bhojan Leela, everybody is thinking Krishna is looking in my direction. So how many directions is Prabhu Krishna is looking in at one point of time? So therefore we say Sarvato Mukham. His face is in all directions. So Sarvato Mukham ka matlab kya hai? For us, Sarvato Mukham mainly refers not only to Narsimha Dev, but also to Bhagavan Krishna, who during Bhojan Leela is looking in Sarvato in all directions. So it is happening in many pastimes. But Jiva Goswami highlights the Dwarka pastime because that is where Narad Muni got, tremendously surprised. And Jiva Goswami gets a chance to make a point about it. So therefore, that is what was highlighted yesterday. All right. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, I am unmuting Prabhuji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Hari Parshad Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
My
Thank you
pranams.
very much, Prabhuji, for wonderful session. And you speak every sentence quoting a verse from Shastra. So thank you very much for that, Prabhuji.
So that's what keeps me out of trouble, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu, please ask.
Prabhuji, you mentioned about Grihasthas for performing Archa Vigraha Seva in house. It is compulsory. And for that, initiation is required.
Yes.
But for new devotees who come to our centers for few months, and we also give them God Nidai deities to worship in their house.
Right.
So they are not initiated. And here initiation means first initiation or second initiation for worshipping in household life, in Grihastha deities.
Right.
And deities in Grihastha life, yes.
Right. So let me tell you, Prabhu, what the original Vedic system is. A person will not be allowed to become a Grihastha unless he has become a Brahmachari first. And a person will not be allowed to become a Brahmachari unless he gets the sacred thread. I hope you're so it is automatically ensured that anybody who's entering Grihastha ashram has the sacred thread. That was the traditional Vedic system. Abhi today everybody has become Vratya. Vratya means they don't get the sacred thread. And by 16, if you don't get the sacred thread and you remain like that, it is called as Vratya. Vratya is Shudra Sama. Shudra Sama means he is considered as good as a Shudra. So Shudra also enters into Grihastha Jivan. But for him, there is no deity worship, no nothing. So the Vedic standard is to lift him above that. But lift him above that and make him eligible for worshipping the deity. So therefore, every Grihastha should be initiated into Vaishnavism and they should be given adhikar to worship the deity. And just as I quoted the Hari Bhakti Vilas verse, just as Upanayan is required for performing Ved Path, similarly, Vaishnav Diksha, basically second initiation, is required for performing Archa Vigraha Seva. So that is the answer to your query, Prabhuji. In ISKCON temples, who will be, you only tell me, Nityanand Ram Prabhu, in ISKCON temples, who will be allowed on the altar? First initiated or second initiated? Please, second initiated. So that is the answer to your query. All right.
Now, Prabhuji, I think we have one more question from Temple Hall.
You're right. Okay.
Guruji Pranam.
My pranams. Yeah.
In the last session, you mentioned about the destruction of the temples in the past.
Hmm.
And
Prabhuji, if you can be a little closer to mic, then it will be clear in this
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
in the last session, you mentioned about the destruction of the temples in the past.
Right.
There you gave the argument in satisfying those kinds of queries. You said, Loka Vattu Leela Kevalam.
Hmm.
Just the Leela of Bhagwan.
Hmm.
But my, from the rationalist point of view or a common sense point of view, the reason for somebody to become atheist or impersonalist is that he cannot perceive the presence of the power of the absolute. If I am an atheist because I have an intelligence, I have an experience, if someone is there, there should be a way to perceive it. This is the way rationalist goes, or impersonalist also they interpret the Vedas in that way. My question here is that if God is so powerful, why he can't show that power as his power while somebody is destroying his deities? It's like there are two ways to tackle a problem. One is that you take a corrective action, and the other is to take a preventive action. So if one takes a preventive action, it is always considered a better way than the correcting things. You Srila Prabhupada, if you build so many Vigrahas, after Khilji or some other has destroyed the temples, if in the front end only you stop it, this is the way God can act. He might not go further on that, or in the generations coming after that. So please try to answer it.
So from what I could understand, people become atheists because they are not able to perceive Bhagwan's power everywhere. That's what you said. And Jai Dwarka Prabhu, did you understand? Can you rephrase the query somewhat for me?
Yes, actually, Prabhuji, yesterday, as you explained that because if we are really disturbed by the action of Bhaktiar Khilji, then we should take up the task of establishing so many deities so that he can't or no one can destroy. So Prabhuji is asking that this is a kind of preventive measure, corrective measure. So instead of it is a corrective measure. So instead of having corrective measure, why can't Lord himself protect himself, and he will, by that he will also manifest his potency, and everybody can understand that he is Lord. So that will be a preventive measure. So preventive measure is better than corrective measure. So Prabhuji is highlighting this point.
All right. So why can't Bhagwan prevent it in the first place? That's what is basically being asked. We are doing corrective measures. We are installing new Vigrahas. And why does Bhagwan not always do that? See, Bhagwan does that sometimes. Bhagwan doesn't do it sometimes. In Prahlad Maharaj's case, Prahlad was attacked many times. But Bhagwan, many times Prahlad was attacked, but Bhagwan did not show himself every time. Bhagwan showed himself only once in front of Hiranyakashipu. Every other time, Prahlad was confident that Bhagwan is performing his Leela, and Prahlad was confident that Bhagwan exists. Similarly, in Dwapar Yuga, I gave the example yesterday of Dwapar Yuga also. I'll repeat that example. Many times, Krishna, being personally present on the planet, also did not exhibit his, all-saving potency. Like 5 sons of Pandavas were killed, Krishna did nothing to save them. But when the grandson is being killed, Parikshit, suddenly that Krishna enters into the womb of Uttara and saves Parikshit. Matlab, sons are killed, you do nothing, and grandson is being killed, then you do something. So Bhagwan acts selectively. When Bhishma thinks about it, Bhishma becomes perplexed. Bhishma thinks, I cannot find out a reason. The more I try to think about this reason, in 1st canto, 9th chapter, Bhishma, the more I try to find out a reason, I can't see of any reason. Sarvam kala kritam manye. Everything is done by this wonderful time, and nobody can understand what are his movements. So sometimes Bhagwan does something, sometimes Bhagwan doesn't do something. When Bhagwan doesn't do something, it is for separating out the people who have very weak faith. But those people who have strong Shraddha, they continue in their particular bhajan. And weak people, they are always waiting. Ki now Bhagwan will do something. If Bhagwan doesn't do something, then we will become Nastik. It happened in World War. In the German side also, they sent soldiers, and the Russian side also sent soldiers. And both families were praying, because Russians were also Christians and Germans were also Christians. So both were praying to same Jesus Christ, that please save our sons. And then the German sons didn't come back, because Germany lost in the World War. So many Germans become atheists. So this is very weak Shraddha, because unless Bhagwan does what we want, till that time we will not become theists. Bhagwan will do when he wants to do something and at his time. Bhagwan also has to see that adharma also has to flourish in the material world. The task of adharma flourishing, also if Bhagwan does not give facility to adharma, then how will adharma flourish in the material world? And adharma has to flourish in some places in the material world. Therefore, Bhagwan gives some power even to those who are adharmis. So, therefore, Vyasadeva says, Lokavattu Lila Kaivalyam. And sometimes Bhagwan gives powers to those who are following dharma. I'll give one example. Prabhuji, there was one time when absolutely there was no hope of, these invaders leaving India. Suddenly, by Bhagwan's mercy, one particular king arose here in Maharashtra. His name is Chhatrapati Shivaji. Prabhu, one person sufficient to give such a headache to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's last statement of Aurangzeb in Aurangzeb's will is about Shivaji. In his deathbed, he was thinking about Shivaji, Prabhuji. For those of us who have seen Aurangzeb's will, I saw Aurangzeb's last will, and in his last will, Aurangzeb had, he had specified that by my mistake, Shivaji basically escaped. And because of this, I am struggling till the end of my life. So if you search on Google about Aurangzeb's last will, you will see that he was defeated by one king from Maharashtra who was initially very small king, but later he grew much big in power. And later the entire Maratha साम्राज्य, they wiped out the Mughals, basically wiped out completely. So Prabhuji, any Bhagwan's arrangement, anything can happen. This is the nature of the material world. All right. Sometimes Bhagwan sends some help. So that time we should recognize that Bhagwan has sent some help through this person. Sometimes Bhagwan doesn't send some help. We should continue our bhajan. So this is Ashlishyama Padaratam Pinoshtumam Adarshanan. Sometimes Bhagwan doesn't give darshan. Marma hatam karotuva. Our heart is broken, but doesn't mat prananathastu. The devotee's attitude is that Bhagwan is still my Lord of my life. Otherwise, it is very easy to become an atheist if we simply become a rationalist. Bhagwan should help us every time. Otherwise, I am an atheist. This is not the thought process of a mature devotee. So we should become more mature in this regard. So I hope this answers your query.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, we can take one question from Jamin Thakur. I don't know, Prabhuji Mataji.
हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Yes.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम आप सभी को। मुझे इंग्लिश बोलना ज्यादा आता नहीं है, तो मैं मेरे प्रश्न को मैं हिंदी में कहना चाहूंगा। और उससे पहले मैं हरि पार्षद प्रभु का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा, जय द्वारका प्रभु और अमोघ लीला प्रभु और अन्य भक्त गणों का, कि इस तरीके से जो सेमिनार्स अरेंज होते हैं तो हमको मतलब शास्त्र में और ज्यादा गहराई में जो गौड़ीय तत्व है वो जानने को मिलता है। मैं बेसिकली मैं गुजरात से हूँ, भुज कच्छ से हूँ। मेरा प्रश्न है कि जैसे प्रभु जी ने बताया कि गुजरात में बहुत सारे मतलब जो ऐसे देवी देवता हैं जिनका शास्त्र में नाम भी नहीं मतलब सुने जाते हैं, तो उनकी जो पूजा है वो ऐसे की जाती है। तो बेसिकली यहाँ पे ऐसे है कि अलग अलग कम्युनिटीज होती है, जैसे सोनी है, लोहाड़ा है, ऐसे करके सब अलग अलग कम्युनिटीज होती है। तो उसमें उसके जो बोलते हैं कि ये हमारे कुल देवी हैं, ये हमारी कुल देवी हैं या कुल देवता है, ऐसे करके। तो पहला मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि जो कुल देवी है या कुल देवता है, तो शास्त्र में ऐसा कोई टर्म है कुल देवी के एक पर्टिकुलर जो होती है जो कास्ट, तो उसके कुछ कुल देवी या ऐसे वर्णाश्रम में ऐसा कुछ होता था
जी?
ये मेरा प्रश्न है।
ओके, सो कुल देवी कुल देवता का क्या होता है? सो दिस क्वेश्चन इज इन हिंदी, सो आई आंसर इट इन हिंदी। कुल देवी कुल देवता का क्या है कि हर कुल में एक व्यक्ति होता है, किसी व्यक्ति को किसी देवी या देवता ने दर्शन दिया होगा, उस दिन से उस कुल का वो देवी या देवता हो जाता है। अन्यथा जिस कुल में किसी देवी या देवता ने किसी व्यक्ति को दर्शन नहीं दिया होगा, उस कुल में जो ऋषि परंपरा से देवता चला आ रहा है, क्योंकि हर किसी का गोत्र है, तो गोत्र परंपरा से जो देवता चला आ रहा है वही उनका देवता होता है। तो जैसे अभी मैं बता देता हूँ, जिस कुल में मैंने जन्म लिया है उस कुल की देवी है कोल्हापुर की महालक्ष्मी। तो ये हमारी कुल की देवी है, क्योंकि हमारे कुल में ऐसा नहीं था कि किसी को किसी ग्राम देवता ने दर्शन दिया, और वो हमारे कुल परंपरा से महालक्ष्मी की पूजा चली आ रही है। तो ये कोल्हापुर की महालक्ष्मी जो है, जिस चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने जिनका दर्शन किया था, वो हमारी कुल की देवी है। अभी गुजरात में ऐसा बहुत है कि किसी के पूर्वज को ये देवी आई, किसी के पूर्वज को उस देवी ने दर्शन दिया, तो उस पूर्वज ने अपने अपने कुल की देवी वो बना ली। और फिर उससे वो आगे आगे बढ़ते बढ़ते जब उसका वंश विस्तार हुआ, तब वो अलग अलग जो, जैसे आपने बोला, अलग अलग संगठन हो गए उनके। पर जो वैष्णव में दीक्षा ले लेता है, वैष्णव भक्ति में दीक्षा ले लेता है, यदि उसका कुल देवी या कुल देवता अवैदिक हो, यानी वेद शास्त्रों में उसका उल्लेख न हो, तो फिर ऐसी उपासना करने की उसको आवश्यकता नहीं है। पर कुल देवी या कुल देवता यदि वेदों में उसका उल्लेख हो, वेद का अर्थ है वेद पुराण इतिहास, केवल वेद नहीं, वेद पुराण इतिहास, ये सबको वेद कह रहा हूं मैं। यदि वेद पुराण और इतिहास में उसका नाम लिया गया हो, तो वो उसको भगवान का अंग मान के उनकी पूजा कर सकता है। जब भी परिवार में पूजा होगी, तो परिवार में पूजा होगी तो देवी देवता की, तो वो पूजा में सम्मिलित होके मन में उसको भरत महाराज की तरह भावना रखनी होगी कि ये देवी या देवता भगवान के अंग स्वरूप हैं। तो मैं इनको प्रणाम और नमस्कार तो कर रहा हूँ, पर मुझे इनसे कुछ विशेष इच्छा नहीं है, मुझे भक्ति चाहिए अपने जीवन में। मैं इनको प्रणाम करता हूँ, इनका आदर करता हूँ, और मैं सभी का सम्मान करता हूँ। इस तरह से मैं इनको पूजा अर्पण करता हूँ। तो इस तरह से गृहस्थ कर सकता है। पर यदि अवैदिक है, अभी आजकल मैंने बोला, एक उदाहरण दिया था, एक फकीर बाबा है, कुछ लोगों ने उसको अपना कुल देवता बना लिया है। अभी मैं इसको कैसे सहमति दे दूं? ये नहीं चलेगा ना, ये सब ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। हाँ, 2-3 पीढ़ी बाद आप देखोगे, लोगों को पूछेगा आपके कुल देवता कौन है, तो वो फकीर बाबा का नाम ले लेगा। तो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना, तो ये नहीं चला सकता है हम लोग। तो जो है वो सत्य यह है कि जो वेदों में है देवी देवता, वेद का अर्थात वेद इतिहास पुराण में जिन देवताओं का नाम है वो हमारे वैदिक देवता हैं, और जो नहीं, उनमें जिनका नाम नहीं है उनको हम पूजा करना हमारे लिए बिल्कुल आवश्यक नहीं है। ये सिद्धांत श्री जीव गोस्वामी द्वारा बताया गया है। ठीक है प्रभु जी?
Yes, Prabhuji. Now we can take one question from His Grace Dayalu Gun Prabhuji.
Oh, wonderful. My pranams Dayalu Gun Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Actually, we Dwarkavasis are always grateful for you because you are imparting such knowledge which is very rare. So, Prabhuji, I have a few questions. The first question was you told us about like mercy in the heart of Grihastha devotees. In that regard, I'd like to ask one thing, that once I was accompanying one Maharaj, he was traveling along with me. He was in the front seat, and one person, he was begging alongside, he was smoking also, smoking bidi also. So when he asked something, then I took out some prasad to give him. Then Maharaj told, don't give him anything because he's taking bidi. He's smoking also, so don't give him anything. In that case, like how we can like exhibit our mercy to that person who is smoking also and begging also.
Right. So this is a very common situation. Like when I go to the Juhu temple, there is a big signal which comes before Juhu temple, and that signal is predominated by beggars. Many beggars are there who come. They are professional beggars, and one person estimated that they may be earning 50,000 or something rupees per month. So but sometimes some genuine beggar also comes, but he or she has incorrect habits. They are smoking and they are drinking. Obviously, when you are from that stratum of society, you can't expect them to have the highest habits because they are born and brought up in that stratum of society. So for us to judge them is also in one way not good, because they have come from that stratum of society where drinking and smoking are very common. Still, we have to benefit them. We should not let them go without benefit. How can we benefit? Let's say if we are hesitant in giving money, dhana, and we should give dravya. Dravya means we should give them some resources which will benefit them. Now, resources can be anything. He doesn't have good clothes, give him a set of good clothes. He doesn't have something to cover himself, give him some chadar to cover himself. He give him 1 kg of rice, give him 1 kg of dal, give him 1 kg of something, give him something to eat. Abhi, this can happen with prashadam. You may give him prashadam, you may give him 1 khichdi prashadam ka plate. He may take that plate, he may mix 2-3 pieces of chicken in it and eat. That may happen. I hope you. So that reaction will not come to you. Please try to understand. The reaction doesn't come to who gets the reaction for meat eating. Prabhupada said 6 people get reaction. Manusmriti also says 6 people get the reaction. Who are the 6 people? Somebody who carries the animal, somebody who cuts the animal, somebody who sells the animal, somebody who purchases the animal, somebody who eats the animal. Is it that somebody who gives a donation for the animal? That is not there. No? That person is not included in that list. So who gets the reaction for meat eatings? Only 6 people get. Those 6 people Prabhupada had specified. And besides those 6 people, the donor doesn't, because the donor did not give with the intention that he will purchase non-vegetarian food. So the donor doesn't give. You will get a pious credit for donating. He will get the impious credit for using it in eating meat. But you did your duty. So you should do your duty. If you are hesitant about giving money, give them prashadam. Now he may use the prashadam, he may take rice prashadam and he may drink it with liquor. Many people, I saw one person, one beggar, you take rice and put liquor and rice and liquor he is eating. So what to do? It can happen. But the reaction doesn't come to us. The reaction doesn't come to the donor. Otherwise, donors will have to be super careful, and Shastra doesn't ask the donor to be super careful about how the donation is being used. Shastra only says that you give. And the best person to give charity to is therefore a Vaishnav or a Brahman. Therefore, I'm very strongly emphasizing it. Give to proper temples, proper places where you know it is going to be used nicely. Give to proper places. So that way you are ensuring that you are kind to other living entities. And this ISKCON Dwarka feeding all the needy living entities, that is one of the best things. Because then your money is being automatically going to the lower stratum of society. And that is very nice. That's very nice. So if you are hesitant personally giving, give to ISKCON Dwarka. ISKCON Dwarka will give on your behalf to the needy and lower people of the society. See, when ISKCON Dwarka feeds the poor people, it cannot have this hesitation in mind. Ki Baba, we are feeding them rice, we are giving them rice prashadam. How will they use this rice prashadam? So why? Because that doesn't come upon the donor. So either you can give directly or you can give via channels in whom you are confident. All right.
Another question is, probably a few days back, like initiation took place in our temple. So the devotee who was assigned to take like examination, so he asked not to keep Lakshmi Narayan's deities in the altar. Such deities should keep we should keep away from our altar. So what should be the exact standard in that way? Because we don't know, like according to you, what should be the
so you are saying that there was a few days ago an initiation ceremony took place, and there was somebody who was taking the examinations, and he told the new initiates to not keep Lakshmi Narayan deities. That's what you're saying.
And some people were like worshipping Shivji also in their altar. So he asked not to keep all those deities.
See, one thing in which we all should understand something. There are some family deities, some deities which are coming to us through family traditions. Our ancestors have worshipped these deities for thousands of years. Now suddenly ISKCON or some other organization comes and says, stop this worship.
Yes.
So we are stopping a Vedic worship. Na? So therefore Jiva Goswami gave such a balanced outlook that non-Vedic should be stopped. So if there is some family who is worshipping, that Fakir Baba, you know whom I am talking about.
Yes,
so that should be stopped. 100%. I am in support of that. Stop all the Fakir Baba worship should be stopped before initiation.
Yes.
But if there was some Vedic deity, thousands of years ancestors were worshipping, then ancestors have some expectations from us. So the person who is taking the exam should have this maturity and to understand that the Grihastha can continue worship of other Vedic deities by considering them as Angas of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And I quoted all the verses, Prabhu. I also showed Bharat Maharaj's example.
Yes,
so that devotee, I respect whosoever devotees, I cannot disrespect it, but that devotee should kindly reconsider his stance and not prevent devotees from worshipping their family Vedic deities. The only change that is required is that the devotees now should consider those Vedic deities as limbs of Vishnu and should worship them as limbs of Vishnu instead of considering them as independent supreme personality of Godhead. This much you do. Nothing else is needed. So in our Vrindavan also we have Gopeshwar Mahadev. Acha, now tomorrow if I say after initiation you should stop visiting Gopeshwar Mahadev. We are speaking against Bhagavan Shiva. So this is not the process. In Vedic culture, we worship all the Vedic deities, but considering them as Angas, as limbs of Bhagavan. And this same idea, Golok Vrindavan is also same idea is there. Nanda Maharaj fasts on Shivratri. But Nanda Maharaj's main deity is Bhagavan Vishnu. His family deity is Bhagavan Vishnu. Nanda Maharaj fasts on Shivratri. And Srimati Radharani offers worship to Surya. Her family deity is Lord Vishnu. So they don't know their family deity is the Krishna only. That deity whom they are worshipping, Krishna himself is the original personality. They don't know this. but they are also following Vedic culture. They are worshipping other devtas also. We want to become Vrajavasis. So why should we stop the culture of worshipping other devtas? We have a very balanced understanding. Our balanced understanding is other devtas are angas or limbs of Bhagavan, and that is how they should be worshipped as avarana, covering around all directions of the main deity. So the main deity should be given the main place. Other devtas should be in avarana. They should be on the sides of the main deity. So that way they should be worshipped. Right?
Prabhuji, thanks a lot. Last one. Prabhuji, I am not like a Brahman initiated, but I am worshipping like a deity at my place, my Pārṣada Seva. I am doing since last like 3-4 years. So how per like according to you, I am not eligible to do that. So what to do now?
So then get Brahman initiated. Prabhu, see, while worshipping Vishnu, you have to chant Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta is from Vedas. Prabhu, how will you chant Vedas unless you are a Brahman? Please tell me. Is it possible? You will say Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha. So that is, do you chant Purusha Sukta while offering worship to Vishnu?
No.
No. So worship is not complete unless Vedic mantras are chanted. But how will you chant Vedic mantras without having eligibility for Veda? So eligibility for Veda will only come when you receive Upanayan. So although you are worshipping right now, that worship will truly become complete when Veda Mantra Adhikar is there with you. So you please complete. I will not say that you are not eligible. You are eligible because you are a Vaishnava, you have Brahminical qualities. So why not take the Adhikar? Please take the Adhikar for Brahmanatva and worship Bhagwan using the Vedas. So that is, the most ideal form of worship. So this is what it is.
Thanks.
So, okay. Jai Dwarka Prabhu is asking the question, how about that verse, Mantratas, Tantratas, Chidram? If there is any fault, then repeated chanting will make everything okay. But why first introduce fault deliberately? First, why? Why first? Let's say I have a packet of Band-Aid in my purse. So wherever I go, I carry a few packets of Band-Aid in my purse. So just because I have a packet of Band-Aid, does it mean every day I should deliberately get hurt? ऐसा है क्या? ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना? So it's that verse is patchwork. Patchwork means if something went wrong, so that verse is like a patch. Okay, now I fixed it. But doesn't mean that deliberately I will do something incomplete or incorrect. So that is the answer to your query, Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. We are so grateful to you.
Thank you.
We are learning so much. So many basics, in fact, which are not clear to the devotees, are getting cleared in such a detailed, scientific, bona fide way. Thank you so very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Devotees every day they are anxious to hear from you. And so let's pay our gratitude to Prabhuji by chanting Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you once again, Prabhu. Thank you. I'll see you.
Yes.
I'll see you tomorrow for the final part of the presentation. Thank you once again, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.